The Rams have found their secret weapon on offense for this upcoming season, and he transforms the offense into a Super Bowl caliber unit, as well as the wrinkle that is preventing him from fully participating in practice. All that and more on this episode of Rams Digest, and welcome back to this episode of Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Finehirsh, and before we get into it, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell on the top left corner of the subscribe button so that you do not miss any daily new Rams Digest videos coming at you, as we have hit a very important day in the offseason. OTAs get started today. We are here. The season is finally, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel of the dark days of the football offseason. So like this video right now if you're excited. We are inching closer to the NFL season getting underway here, as we have an amazing story to get into today. The Rams finding their new secret weapon on offense, and according to Rams Wire, he's been turning heads so far at OTAs, and that player is rookie tight end, their premier draft pick, their second round pick, Terrance Ferguson. And the Los Angeles Rams didn't really add too many players this offseason, and this story is brought to us by Rams Wire. Before we get any further, the Los Angeles Rams didn't add too many new players this offseason, instead opting to retain players who made sense for the 2025 season. This meant that while guys like quarterback Matthew Stafford and receiver Tutu Atwell stayed, others like receiver Cooper Kupp and linebacker Christian Roseboom left. Yeah, that is true. The Rams didn't make many splashes, Devontae Adams being their only splash signing this offseason. And that's okay. The Rams are in a spot where they don't really need a lot of flashy names in order to make this team a Super Bowl contender. It's okay to know that sometimes. I mean, an example I always point to for this is, the Suns, I know it's a different sport, but the NBA, Matt Ishbia took over there, and he felt like they needed some more flashy names, and it hasn't necessarily worked out too well over there. And the Rams have a really good sense of that. They've always had that, really, with McVay and Snead at the helm of the decision-making to make this team really be able to balance the youth with the experience and be able to remain Super Bowl contenders. The players LA did bring in, though, should be able to contribute immediately. This includes those who were taken in the 2025 NFL Draft, and the biggest name the Rams added was multi-time Pro Bowl and All-Pro receiver Devontae Adams, but Bleacher Report's Brett Solbesky doesn't think he'll be the most dangerous new player on the Rams. Instead, Solbesky picked second-round tight end Terrance Ferguson, and we actually have a little bit of a quote here from Solbesky to dive into deeper on this matter. The Los Angeles Rams have been searching for a tight end for quite some time, Solbesky wrote. Ultimately, they selected Oregon's Terrance Ferguson in this year's second round, after trading out of the opening frame and getting a 2026 first-round pick from the Atlanta Falcons. And this was an amazing move by the Rams, as Solbesky and many others have reported. The Rams were looking for a tight end for quite a long time, and they really hadn't been able to find one for a long time to really add to Tyler Higbee, and especially now to complement him, because Higbee's coming off of that ACL injury and last year didn't really play too much. He looked fine when he played, but outside of Higbee, there wasn't really a reliable backup piece that the Rams can point to and say, if we are without Higbee again for a significant chunk of the season, who's that next guy to step up? And they believe it is Terrance Ferguson, and I happen to agree with them. I really liked the pick there in the second round, especially trading back too, just because the Rams did say that they were comfortable taking him at 26, but they quickly realized no one was going to take him at 26 because no other team saw the value there. So the Rams were like, hey, let's trade back. And then the Falcons decided to take another defensive player, which they desperately needed. And because of that, the Rams now have another first-round pick to play with. And this was just another great move from Les Snead, from Sean McVay, the Kroenke family as well being involved. Just really able to build up this team. And now they have extra assets to go out and make a trade, if necessary, in the offseason for a Jalen Ramsey, or a trade at the trade deadline, or in next year's draft to maybe not even have to trade the pick because the Falcons missed the playoffs, and you can take a quarterback in the top 15 of the draft to replace Matthew Stafford. So what do you think of this move by the Rams? Comment it down below right now, and if you agree that Terrance Ferguson is the next big piece to this Rams offense and their secret weapon, if you will. And what Solbesky is saying, that Ferguson could give the Rams offense a dimension they've lacked for some time, while Adams just continues the area they dominated in with Kupp and Puka Nacua in recent years. Adams is more dangerous in his own right, but defenses know that. Ferguson, meanwhile, is new, exciting, and offers a skill set the Rams need to take the team to a new level. I fully agree with this. the 12 personnel, we've seen Quentin Lake, my co-creator Josh covered this video a few days ago, so after you're done with this one, go watch that one if you missed it, about how Quentin Lake really thinks that this offense could be the next greatest show on turf, except adapted to the newer style of football. And I kind of agree, man. Terrance Ferguson really adds where you can have a 12 personnel. We know teams like the Lions love to run that, the Eagles. The Rams really haven't been able to run that at all, and now they really can, having 2 starting caliber tight ends on their roster. And Silbeski has a second part to his quote as well about Terrance Ferguson that we're going to get into here. And Higbee's production has decreased in each of the last 2 seasons. He also turned 32 earlier this year. Ferguson can once again prove could provide the type of threat over the middle of the field to help quarterback Matthew Stafford and take some pressure off the Rams' wide receivers. And this is a very important point about the pressure, because there was always a lot of pressure on, especially Puka Nacua throughout his rookie season, because Kupp missed so much of that time to perform, and my God, did he perform. But over that last year, specifically in the games where Kupp and Nacua were out, it was really the Demarcus Robinson show. Yes, there were other players that stepped up, like a Tutu Atwell as well. Even Xavier Smith with some key returns throughout the season. However, there really wasn't a reliable tight end to go to. Colby Parkinson's a nice veteran guy to have, but I don't believe the Rams need to keep any more tight ends. And comment down below right now what you think the addition of Terrance Ferguson means for guys like Colby Parkinson and Davis Allen. Because 2 tight ends are on the roster already with Higbee and Ferguson. Who's going to be the odd man out? Because I don't see a need for 4 tight ends. Maybe you do. Comment down below right now who you think sadly has to be cut, or if you think everyone's going to still be on the team. I want to know. And now we're going to get into really why the Rams decided to draft Terrance Ferguson in the first place. And these are something I love to do on this channel, especially around draft time. But since Ferguson is still a rookie, we could do it here. Is NFL.com's scouting profile, the strengths and weaknesses of each player, as I think they're very important to go over here, as we are going to get into that. And a lot of Ferguson's strengths are really in as being a receiver, catching the ball. He racked up solid catch production over the last 3 seasons. He has build-up speed when asked to run seam routes. He shows ball skills and body control, which is really impressive for just a 22-year-old tight end. He gets every inch of reach available when high-pointing a catch. That is key, because the Rams, Puka Nacua was an okay 50-50 ball catcher. Devontae has been a really good one throughout his career, but now having a second one is really, really important. And he's capable of banging through an uncommitted tackler. I feel like all tight ends are, but that is still really, really good to have. And he does need to improve as a run blocker, but he has that potential, which is good. So the 12 personnel will most likely come more later in the season or in the playoffs. And he's an adequate run block strain when he's on level footing, which are all really, really important. And some of the weaknesses is that he leans way out past his toes as a run blocker, meaning he kind of leans forward a bit too much. And that is an important thing to note, because blocking is very important in the McVay offense. We saw Blake Corum not get as much reps because he needed that work blocking. We'll see if that improves this year. But for that 12 personnel, again, it's really important to block. Higbee is going to be the better blocker day 1 than Ferguson, but I do believe Ferguson will be the better pass catcher. And sometimes he has a disappointing contested catch rate for a player his size. Now, that could also be a play calling thing. That could be a ball placement thing. That's not necessarily all on him. And he does lack foot quickness to elude the initial tackle after a catch. And I think that's something the Rams will really work on. Again, Puka Nacua's not really a fast guy either, but the Rams have really helped him improve on being elusive on that first tackle. And some other things to note about Ferguson. A 4.63 40 time, which is really impressive for a tight end. He's 6'5", 247 according to NFL.com. Wikipedia has it listed at 6'5", 256. So most likely somewhere in the middle there. He does have the Oregon school record for receptions for a tight end at 134 and touchdowns at 16, which are all great signs for him to be successful in the pros, as I believe he will be successful in the pros. And comment down below as well what you think Terrance Ferguson's rookie stat line is going to be. For me, I believe Terrance Ferguson is going to have 35 catches, 426 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That is my stat line for Ferguson. Comment that down below, because I do believe he'll be splitting catches and targets with Higbee, especially early on. But I do think at the end of this year, he has the chance to surpass him. And now something that's a little bit important to note is that Terrance Ferguson has not yet signed a rookie contract, and this story is again brought to us by Rams Wire. And this does impact a little bit of the offseason, and not many second rounders have signed at all. And we're going to get to why right now, again brought to us by Rams Wire. And a few weeks ago, the Rams really got to work on signing their rookies, both drafted and undrafted players. A total of 19 rookies inked their first-round contracts in the NFL on May 10th, 4 of them being draft picks. The Rams' only 2 picks not to sign are Terrance Ferguson and Jarquez Hunter in the 4th round. When it comes to Ferguson's situation, there's a very likely reason to why his contract remains unsigned, and the Rams have other teams to blame. Of the 32 players drafted in the 2nd round this year, only 2 of them have signed, Jaden Higgins of the Texans and Carson Schlesinger of the Browns. And what do these 2 contracts have in common? They're both fully guaranteed and were signed just 1 day apart. And this is really important to note because a lot of times 2nd round contracts are not fully guaranteed. And with these 2 players, and there are also, just to note, these 2 players were the first 2 selections of the 2nd round, so they did have a little bit more leverage coming in than a guy like Terrance Ferguson, who's the 14th pick of the 2nd round. But even then, it is still important to note that a lot of 2nd round contracts are not fully guaranteed. But the fact that these 2 guys got one, they're the only 2 players, as this article says, to have signed from the 2nd round, meaning a lot more of these 2nd round guys and their agents are looking for fully guaranteed contracts, just like the 1st round picks, and why wouldn't they? I'm for players and agents trying to seek that, but at the same time, I highly doubt the NFL is going to change that order around. And it's no coincidence that other teams have chosen not to follow in the footsteps of the Texans and Browns by giving their 2nd round rookies fully guaranteed contracts, but you can bet the agents and the players are now pushing for their clients to get fully guaranteed deals. As I just said, I fully agree. And I want you to comment down below, do you agree with this as well, with 2nd round picks getting fully guaranteed contracts? I want to know. It's really interesting. I do agree, especially now that we've had the top 2 picks of the 2nd round get their fully guaranteed deals. You can't do it to just 2 of them and not expect anyone else to try and follow. At this point, I think the NFL in their next CBA is going to have to make that a fully guaranteed thing because a lot of 2nd round picks do pan out and a lot of them make key impacts, and there's some guys in the 2nd round that fall there for whatever reason and miss out going in the 1st round. So I think it's very important that players get the money that they deserve, especially these young players, because the NFL, oftentimes people say it stands for not for long as well because it's a very physical sport. Sadly, a lot of injuries associated with it, and it's very important to get that money while you can, while still obviously being focused on the game. I fully agree with this. I want to know your opinion down below in the comments because there is an interesting note here about another Rams 2nd round pick, and it is that likely includes Ferguson, who was the 46th overall pick in the draft out of Oregon. There are still 11 players drafted ahead of him who have not yet signed their contracts, and Ferguson may not put pen to paper until he sees a player drafted higher than him sign a contract that isn't fully guaranteed. I do believe there's going to be someone who breaks and does say, hey, I just want to sign, get fully incorporated into the team. And while that would be cool and honorable, I highly doubt Ferguson is going to be that first one to do it. And it's not because he doesn't care. It's not because of that. It's because, hey, these guys got fully guaranteed. Why can't I? And I fully agree with it. As I've said, it is important to get that money. And it's important for the NFL to really see the importance of all their draft picks, but especially 2nd round picks. Because, again, 2nd round picks, they pan out. And they do get playing time early on. A lot of times the top 3 rounds are the guys that get playing time early on, the guys you expect to make an impact on your team. And the NFL should, treat those picks like that. Sorry about that right there. And the Rams likely won't budge on this unless every other team follows the Texans and Browns lead. But they do have a history of rewarding 2nd rounders with better contracts. And this is what I was getting at earlier. Just last year, the Rams gave Braden Fisk an atypical contract for a 2nd round pick when they made 3 years of his deal fully guaranteed while also guaranteeing 15% of his salary in year 4. And this is a very important note because Terrance Ferguson's also looking like, hey, this guy was drafted 55 overall. Braden Fisk had a great rookie year. Have high expectations for him this year as well, but he got a fully guaranteed deal for 3 years. At least let me match that. And I fully agree. The Rams already did an atypical contract for a 2nd round pick. Why can't they do it again? Negotiations looks like are at an impasse for right now. And this is important to note because going into training camp, if he's not signed, is there a holdout that's going to happen? Will he be able to practice fully due to the NFL CBA? These are all things that we need to know heading into training camp. And the overall value of the contracts will not change due to the CBA, but agents can negotiate how much that their clients' deals are guaranteed. So until we have movement on these contracts for players picked ahead of Ferguson, we'll probably have to wait a little longer for his deal to get signed. The good news is, and this is great, that he's participating in the offseason program, as has Hunter, so they're not letting these contract situations get in the way of their work. And this is a very important note, because easily these guys could be holding out, but instead, they're fully participating for now, in the offseason programs. And I'm not as concerned about Hunter because, again, the 4th round pick thing, that I believe has a 0% chance of being fully guaranteed. And I do agree that 4th round picks should not get fully guaranteed deals. But something to note, as I did do some research about 2nd round pick contracts, pick 46, and according to Sporadic, I am going to read this off my phone, so I have the prices correct here, so excuse me for looking down. But the average of Terrance Ferguson's projected contract would be $2.4 million in AAV, average annual value, and for the first year, $1.76 million guaranteed, well, as a salary, $1.76 million for that first year with a rising salary each and every year to total $9.7 million. And this is all according to Sporadic, and that is around an estimate of what the Rams are offering him. We don't have an exact contract as to what the Rams have offered him, but that is according to Sporadic what the ballpark would be. So again, just to clear it up, it is not a salary dispute, it is a guaranteed money dispute, and I'm on the side of Terrance Ferguson, especially after 2 second-round picks already got fully guaranteed deals, and other teams might have to follow in those footsteps. Comment down below if you agree. And that's it for this episode of Rams Digest. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you do not miss any daily new Rams Digest videos covering all things Rams, especially with OTAs back in session. Like this video for OTAs being back. The dark days in the NFL offseason are ending. Comment down below what you think of Terrance Ferguson's stats for next season. And hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell. I've been your host, Joshua Finehirsh. Thank you for watching this episode of Rams Digest. I'll see you soon for another episode, and have a great rest of your day.